Australia, we need to talk about equality.
Australian people have voted for equality and against separatism.
Gender equality is an Albanese government priority.
A society that doesn't grant equal rights to its citizens is really not doing the right thing by us all.
It's your choice that you have every right not to vaccinate your children. You're just going to have to be fenced off in a little camp somewhere in the middle of the desert.
We can't stand idly by when faced with discrimination.
For Harper, it's around $60 and for Lenny $120.
Centrelink cut off Lenny's subsidy, saying he hadn't been vaccinated.
Especially when it targets the most vulnerable among us, our children.
The Australian government wants to increase levels of immunisation from an already high 90%. It plans to withhold over $2,000 in benefits from parents who don't take their children for 6 blocks of jabs over 4 years.
We share the burden of this injustice, and it is our collective duty to call it out and demand change.
Remembering we do not have a mandatory vaccination policy in this country. As you know, I have a pretty strong view on vaccines, being the Social Services Minister that introduced no jab, no play.
You're not vaccinated, we'll have a no jab, no play, in fact a no jab, no pay rule.
I don't claim to be an expert on the pros and cons of childhood vaccination. That's for those far more knowledgeable than I. However, what I do know, and what has come to my attention through the voices of over 1,000 families, is the deep harm caused by policies like no jab, no pay, and no jab, no play.
Preschool directors and educators in the Northern Rivers District, all of them supporters of childhood vaccinations, are speaking out for the first time against a policy seen as a punishment rather than a means of persuasion.
These measures, intended to protect public health, have instead punished families who choose not to vaccinate by stripping them of essential support.
It could cost parents like Tasha Davis more than $2,000 per child per year.
Families, particularly single-parent households, are being driven to the brink, living hand-to-mouth, struggling under the weight of government policies that are, at best, indifferent, at worst, cruel.
Childcare and early childhood education is critical.
What about the marginalised? You know, there's still a proportion of children that are slipping through the net there and are missing that vital preschool education.
Here's where the irony cuts deep. In some regions, wealthier families have found loopholes in these very policies. If they can afford to pay full fees, their unvaccinated children are still able to attend childcare.
Some of Australia's most affluent suburbs have the lowest rates of child immunisation.
Essentially, buying their way out of the system. It gets worse. While unvaccinated children are excluded, health workers and parents are not required to be vaccinated to enter the same childcare settings. This paradox only reinforces the deeper injustice at play. Policies designed to protect public health are instead creating new layers of inequity and exclusion, all while allowing those with financial means to sidestep the very restrictions others are forced to endure.
Do you sometimes think when you're speaking to parents, oh, for goodness sake, just immunise your child and then your child can come to preschool?
I don't propose to purport that position to families or the preschool because that is their choice.
And the informed consent process provides the decision to the individual. That's the sort of country we live in.
If somebody's saying, I'll pay you a couple of $1,000s to make a decision, you actually aren't making an informed decision based just on the science.
A simple yet effective solution lies in reinstating the option for conscientious objection for parents who choose not to vaccinate.
Rules which until now have allowed a conscientious objector loophole are being tightened.
By making this process as straightforward as filling out a form at Centrelink, we can ensure that families continue to receive the benefits they need without unnecessary restrictions. This change would balance public health with respect for individual choice and cultural diversity.
You cannot promote diversity and tolerance whilst not showing tolerance for those who disagree with you.
And of course, Australian children have to be fully vaccinated if their parents want to receive any kind of government assistance under the Commonwealth's no jab, no pay laws.
Banned from enrolling as part of a policy known as no jab, no play.
Well, what do we do with those kids that are missing out? That's my concern. Yeah, where's the policy for them? You know, how do we get them that quality early childhood education, which we know benefits us, their families, the nation, you know, everything.
It is our collective responsibility, Deputy Speaker, yours and mine, to ensure that all families have the opportunity to protect, provide and prosper. This is more than just a slogan. It is a call to action to defend individual rights, provide access to essential services and ensure that every child, every family can thrive no matter their personal medical decision. I commend this proposition to the House.